Okay, we're back with participial phrases. Remember, these are verbs acting as adjectives. I'm not going to go over this whole handout, but I do want you to read it. I'm going to pull out a couple of things, right? So rarely does a person perform one action at a time. This exact moment, you may be sitting at your desk, reading information, tapping your foot, and twirling your hair. So it could read something like, mindlessly twirling her hair, Elvira sat at her computer, reading her teacher's assignment, tapping her foot nervously. Remember, we want to find the subject and the verb. Elvira sat, right? This is your sentence, but we wanted to add something to it. What is Elvira doing? She's twirling her hair. She's reading her teacher's assignment. She's tapping her feet nervously. This is the participle, right? They look like verbs, but they're being used as adjectives. Participial phrases allow a writer to present multiple actions occurring at the same time. Sentences with participial phrases carry more energy because there is more action. Writing participial phrases. Participial phrases begin with the verb ending in ing or ed. Verbs ending in ing are present tense, verbs ending in ed are past tense. We talked a little bit about this before. To write a participial phrase, you first have to have a sentence with the main verb. Jimmy sat at the table. Now ask yourself, what is Jimmy doing at that moment? Is he chewing? Is he eating? Is he staring? Then make a selection, then finish the thought. Okay? All right, I want to show you some other examples. Remember, participles describe nouns or pronouns. It doesn't have to be just a noun, it could be a pronoun. Present participles always end in ing. Past participles usually end in ed. In the following examples, the nouns or pronouns are underlined, the participles are capitalized, and the rest of the participle phrases are bold-faced. So here's some examples. She was quite far from the windows which were to her left, and behind her were a couple of tall bookcases containing all the books of the factory library. This is the participial phrase. Containing is the participle. It's talking about bookcases. Here, minute fungi overspread the whole exterior, hanging in a fine tangled webwork from the eaves. Hanging in a fine tangled webwork from the eaves is the participial phrase. Hanging is the participle. Standing there in the middle of the street, Marty suddenly thought of Halloween, of the winter and snowballs of the schoolyard. Standing there in the middle of the street is the participial phrase. That is the participle, right? It's talking about Marty. In each one of these sentences, you can take away the participial phrase, still works. Okay. You can't take away the noun like you could in the appositive phrase. You can't say standing there in the middle of the street, suddenly thought of Halloween, right? We need that subject, okay? Here's a couple of sentence openers. These are pretty easy. Whistling. He let the escalator waft him into the still night air. Looking over their own troops, they saw mixed masses slowly getting into regular form. Amazed at the simplicity of it all, I understood everything as never before. All three of those, right? We have present, present, past, right? All bolded are participial phrases. And they are talking about whistling. Who's whistling? He is. Looking over their troops. Who is that? They are. Amazed at the simplicity of it all. Who is that? I. Right. Here's some subject-verb splits. This participial phrase is talking about my father. This one is talking about Eccles. Flashing and flickering through the submarine darkness of a few yards away, it's talking about what? The light. And then we have some sentence closers. The entire crowd in the saloon gathered about me now, urging me to drink. She called to him, excited. Right? That was just a participle, not a phrase. That's a phrase. That's a phrase. If you remember, in my notes from our show don't tell, I did a since beginning. In my since beginnings, I made a participial phrase. Stomping his feet with determination up the steel stairs, he banged loudly on his boss's door. Stomping his feet with determination up the steel stairs is the participial phrase. This is my independent clause. He banged loudly on his boss's door. I could take out from his to stairs, and I could just say stomping, he banged loudly, right? We're still talking about he, right? That was just the participle, but that's the whole phrase. I want you to write a phrase. I need you to write a phrase in your essay. Come see me if you need help